So I'm Phil Geraghty. I'm one of the founders and the director of Crowdfunder, and I tend to work with some of our larger projects on the platform to help them raise funds.
So I am starting my own crowdfunder, Phil. I am trying to raise £10,000, which I think is quite a modest amount, but to some people can still seem quite daunting. What is your, I guess, some overarching advice for me and anybody else that wants to raise this kind of money?
I think there's a few things to look at. Like we always say, my main bit of advice to projects is trying to treat the project as like a bit of a battle of two halves. There's getting the page right, and then there's promoting it. So getting the page right is in a way that's sometimes easier because you can look at so many other projects, hundreds of thousands of projects on the site. So you can always find something that's fairly similar. So when you're talking to me about what you're doing, I can kind of relate it to other things in a similar way, and you can take elements from other projects and put those into your project to piece it together, which I think is a great way of doing it. You can also get feedback on the project from other people as well. So once you've started creating it, you've got it as a temp project you can show to other people, get rounds of feedback, and that's a great way of engaging with early stage donors as well, is by showing them the project that's coming and then do it. So I think part of the challenge with a project like yours is pitching the right thing. So it's letting people know that this has been going and it is successful and people are engaging with it. Isn't that great? But there's so much more we could do, and if we had this, we'd be able to do this, and just getting that across as succinctly as possible. So explaining the idea of what your project is, but then also showing what it could be if people can give to it. The bit you mentioned there about the target, I think, is quite interesting. That's often one of the hardest things to do. It's probably sometimes the last thing we do on a project before launch is actually figure out what the initial target's going to be, because there's a few levels of that. There's how much money you actually need, that you need and you want, but there's also what's reasonable to raise from your audience and your crowd as they are at the moment. And so one of the methods we do for working that out is to basically work backwards from what's likely to be the average amount given. So if you know the average amount given is going to be it's going to be somewhere between £20 and £50 on most projects. It'll vary from project to project quite substantially. But if you're going for, like, say, a £50 average to get to £5,000, that's 100 people. So you need to be basically working on, to get to £10,000, that's 200 people at £50 each, and that's how you kind of work backwards. If you know you've got a few large donors in there, that can make a huge difference. If you know someone's going to give £1,000, £2,000 themselves, then obviously that changes the numbers quite significantly. But I think that's the main thing to focus on: is can I have I got sight of, say, 100 to 200 people giving to this project? And if I can, then 10,000 seems like an okay target. Also, have I got any access to any match funding on the crowdfunder site? Because that again can help significantly reduce the number of people that you need to go after. And you can always set a lower target and then burst through. So that's what we often advise projects to do: is set a target that is something that you can do something with the money. It's a reasonable chunk of money for you to do something with. You can hit it, that's a success, but you can burst through and go higher and keep going. So it doesn't have to be the whole 10 grand in one go. You can stagger it and then move up from there.
I guess obviously you see a lot of project owners. Are there any common mistakes or misconceptions that you come across?
I think it is the most common one is that the project's going to get magically funded by itself. I just stick it up and it's just going to people are going to give to it, and I don't have to share it with anyone, and I don't have to have done anything before the project. The best projects are ones where it's part of that journey, a bit like your journey. You've been doing this work, you've been engaging with people, and now is actually a great time for you to say, actually, I want to galvanise that and pull that together and see if we can use that crowd to move us to the next level. Targets can be quite hard as well sometimes. Setting the target too high can be a mistake that people make. From a donor's point of view, they normally want to see a target which is reasonable. So, and reasonable is quite hard to gauge a lot of the time. It's a lot about the donor's mindset and where they're coming from and how much an amount looks like. So the rewards, there is a danger of rewards. They can eat into future income if you're not careful. You can have a certain amount of it, like you said. You can have a certain amount of it to say, yeah, put in X and you'll get Y as a voucher. It depends on your model and how that works. I think it's maybe a nice thing to have as part of a reward. You can limit the rewards as well. So you can say there are 20 of these available. They could be like the early bird ones, where you go, you've got 20 of these available. Once they're gone, they're gone. The other thing I think we see organisations like yourselves doing for rewards is getting rewards themselves donated by other people. So especially if you're in a local area and there's anything in that local area which is of value to people, so it could be tickets to a local venue, a local attraction, and people are getting that and they're thinking, okay, the thing I like about those is it moves from a different budget. It goes from your kind of donation budget into your entertainment budget, and suddenly there's a little bit more money for me to take the family and the kids out for the day. So it could be something quite separate from the cause, but it's something you've got there as a reward which has been donated from another local organisation, and they get a bit of promotion out of it as well. Yeah, I'd say basically the other bit to be focused on, I suppose, is the promotion side, the rolling out of it. What we do say is try and get some money on the board before it goes out wider. So you want as many people seeing it moving as possible. You don't really want people seeing it on £0. So that's my one bit of advice for any project launching like yours is just get some early stage donations on it, which could be you, the other people involved in the organisation, other people who've worked, close volunteers and stuff like that, to say, look, can everyone just chip in a little bit? It gets 10, 20 people on the board, and then you're pushing it out wider, and then everyone sees it's a success. The momentum's quite important, that you can kind of keep doing it. I think you'll be, often with projects we're like, okay, how au fait are you with social media? How comfortable are you with asking for stuff? I think you'll be fine with that.